This episode is brought to you by Liquid IV. Get proper hydration all the time with Liquid IV. Available in 12 flavors, it hydrates 2 times faster than water alone and contains 5 essential vitamins. Use it in the morning, when you feel run down in the afternoon, after a night out, or on long flights. Real people, real flavor, real hydrating. Grab your Liquid IV in bulk nationwide at Costco, or get 20% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use the code SPOTIFY at checkout.
Today on CityCast Boise, our airport used to be pretty sleepy, but like most of town, things are changing. There's a new parking garage, plus a couple of nonstop flights are kicking off this fall. So today we're resharing my conversation with Boise-based NPR reporter Kirk Siegler. We chat through our BOI rants and raves and drop our destination wish list. It's Wednesday, September 20th. I'm Emma Arnold, and this is what Boise's talking about. Hi, Kirk.
Hello, Emma.
Welcome to CityCast Boise. Thanks for being here.
Sure thing.
Well, we'll get into some specifics here, but overall, what is your take on the Boise airport?
I don't know if this would be controversial, but I kind of love the Boise airport.
Same. I didn't know what you were going to say, but I actually also really love the Boise airport. And as a national desk correspondent for NPR who lives in Boise, how often are you flying in and out of the airport every month?
On a good month, I'd say twice. Maybe even on a better month, I'd say 3 or 4 times. I do kind of like to fly, and my coworkers know that I like to nerd out and talk about airline travel and airports, and I could go on and on. It's also kind of like a great distraction from a lot of the stuff we're covering. So I just focus on air travel and the craziness around airports. And this airport here is like not crazy at all. I can make it sometimes in 13 minutes or less when I call an Uber from the jetway to get out to the street to get home north of downtown in like 13 minutes. That's my best.
That's your record?
Yeah, that's the best. Yeah, but usually it's like 18 minutes.
What about leaving town? When breaking news happens, I imagine the time it takes to get from your house to the gate is pretty crucial. What's your fastest time you've ever gotten, like from home to your gate, just like on the plane?
Well, here's the thing. It's actually kind of not as easy to immediately get out of Boise, especially in the middle of the night during a breaking news event. So in some sense, I've been like second or third wave of breaking news events because I'm no longer based at LAX where there's constant flights constantly. But I think I can get there 20 minutes. Sometimes if like the Uber is like taking too long, or you get that dreaded like dropping off a person nearby, then I start to get a little nervous, and I have been known to drive a few times.
To get from my house and through the gate, honestly, it's like tops 21 minutes, but it's usually like, because I can get there and you can just like kind of walk through security a lot of times if you're hitting like the right time. It can be really, really fast.
Except those random like weekend mornings sometimes, even the pre-check line. And then they now have Clear, which is sort of a rant of mine because Clear just cuts the pre-check line. Like Clear doesn't have its own agents. They just sort of cut in front of all the pre-check people and use the US government to more quickly get their passengers in front of all of us. But generally speaking, it can only take like a few minutes.
This is the sound of your engine getting clean. Because BP and Amoco gasolines with Invigorate clean deep in your engine as you drive, helping your car run better to take you farther. Fuel a cleaner engine with BP and Amoco gasolines with Invigorate at a station near you. Optimizes your engine's performance from the harmful effects of deposits caused by minimum detergent fuels. Requires continuous use. Results depend on what you drive and how you drive. Comparison made for fuels with the same ethanol content.
Sergeant and Mrs. Smith, you're going to love this house.
Is that a tub in the kitchen?
There's no field manual for finding the right home. But when you do, USAA Homeowners Insurance can help protect it the right way. Restrictions apply.
Well, let's talk airport hacks. You said, I'm assuming you have TSA PreCheck, which is a big one. I also have that. I don't mess with Clear also. I'm a woman of the people, and I'm not messing around with Clear, I've decided. Like you said, it's line hopping. It's cheating. I don't care for it.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of think the whole Boise airport is kind of a hack because it's just so convenient. And I understand they're expanding it, and that actually makes me, could be controversial, like a little nervous because it seems like it's just such a great size. Although I will say that some mornings it's just too crowded and, there are too many flights taking off at once. But I don't know that I really have a hack other than the airport itself. You can really be really flexible when the airport is so generally efficient and also not that big. Like there's never really any traffic trying to get into it. My frame of reference for the previous 7 to 8 years since I moved to Boise is LAX. I had to fly out of LAX like once a week. But it's kind of just amazing just to generally be able to use this airport.
Yeah, it's super quick. What about parking? It's been an issue for a long time that there's not enough parking there, and they're adding more garages. Like you said, you sometimes have to park.
Yeah.
Is it a pain to park at the airport?
Okay, so I travel so much that sometimes it becomes sort of my own game to see how close I can cut it to get to the flights.
We are different people.
Oh, yeah, right. There's two types of people in this world. The person who's okay with getting to the airport 30 minutes in advance, and then there's the person who gets there 2 hours in advance, even to the Boise airport. I can see both sides, but I'm the former. But I was doing that because I got in the habit of being able to, I even had a parking spot that no one ever bothered to drive all the way around the garage to the exterior of that lot by the passenger pickup. Until one fateful day, 35 minutes before my flight, I got to the airport and realized that the parking garage and structure were totally under construction, and you had to take a shuttle from a lot.
Yeah.
It's now a dreaded lot. But I actually drove over there really fast and was like, you're probably going to miss your flight. And so I actually drove over to the lot and called an Uber while I was driving to the lot. And then I made my flight.
That's a good hack. That's a good one.
I probably could have gotten on the parking shuttle, but you just never know with parking shuttles. They really give me anxiety, as do rental car shuttles when the rental car centers, right? When the rental car center is off site. I don't rent a car, obviously, in Boise anymore when I land. But when I used to come here for work, it was also one of my favorite airports because the rental cars were on site. That is the sign of a good airport.
One time I landed I did a festival in Nebraska, and I landed and they were like, okay, I had rented a car, and they're like, we're taking you to your rental car place on this shuttle. And we were driving through the woods for so long. And I was like, oh, I die in Nebraska.
Yeah.
That's great. I just get on a van okay, this is probably right.
I feel like the Omaha airport, the rental car center is technically in Iowa, so to speak, because it's right.
Yeah.
Technically, if not literally, because it is sort of right there. But you're like, okay, we actually have to go to Iowa to get your car. We have to get it to another state. Yeah. And it's always those airports that are pretty small. The Sacramento airport comes to mind. You're like, why are we getting on a shuttle? You couldn't have put the rental car center right by the terminal. Anyway, Boise's great that way. And so I really hope for other people who don't have the fortune of living here, who have to come in here for work, for their sake, as they redesign that airport, I sure hope the rental car center remains on site. And I know I'm not supposed to be saying opinionated things as a reporter, but there you have it.
There it is. Yeah. Breaking news. Well, here's a scenario for you. Okay. You're headed out for a morning flight. You get there with time to spare, and which apparently is a very rare thing for you.
Yeah.
But you're very hungry. Where do you go at the Boise airport? Where are you grabbing some breakfast and maybe a coffee?
I know not to, but I do know that I think if you go to is it the bagel shop, the chain bagel place, right after you clear security?
But you can smell from the parking lot?
Right. Charbroiled bagels. Yeah. Or I feel like you can also in the morning smell smash burger, which is just...
You can.
Ugh, yeah.
That's my only real complaint about the Boise airport is that it always smells like, no matter the time of day or night, burgers and burnt bagels, always.
Yeah, it kind of smells... right. I think you've struck on something. The Boise airport smells like smash burger.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a bunch of coffee urns out in front of Einstein. And if you're in a rush, they do have an honor, or at least they did have an honor system, and you can throw like a couple bucks in there and get yourself coffee.
Oh, nice.
That's like a quaint small town airport thing, right?
Yeah, that's pretty cute. That's pretty sweet.
I'm kind of entrenched in not buying airport food whenever possible.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I don't typically eat at the Boise airport. There's usually a giant line at the coffee shop, the one coffee shop there that makes it so it's not exactly worth waiting for. But what about, okay, let's say you get there early, and what do you do? How do you kill time before you board? I know some people walk, some people get some exercise in. What about you?
Well, one time recently, because I never win anything, and I won a raffle for a $50 card, like gift card to Bardenay. And I remember that there was one in the airport. So I went up there to like get a beer, and they're like, "Ooh, yeah, this is a special contractor. We don't actually take that gift card." So I think I spent like $11 on a pint. But I mean, not to dodge your question, but I kind of don't really, because the airport is so convenient and I live relatively close, I kind of have it down to a science where I don't really have to spend much time, if any. If I do, and I'm not buying an $11 beer, I go into one of those bookshops and see if I can do the 50% off. You can like buy a paperback, and there's usually like 3 or 4 actually good paperbacks, and then you can return them.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's quite a little hack. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, and NPR News you can use. And actually, you can do it at other certain airport newsstands across the country. But you can definitely do it at the Boise airport, because I've done it.
That's, again, honor coffee and a book you can return. That's very sweet, small town airport.
Yeah.
Well, we've been mostly talking about what we love about the airport, but obviously it's not perfect. What's your least favorite part other than the meat smell?
I think it's less to do with the Boise airport and more just to do with the airlines and the state of air travel today, in the sense that these smaller regional airports are being disproportionately hit by fewer flights. And so back in the before times, and even to some extent during the pandemic, I would frequently need to go to our West Coast Bureau in LA. And there used to be 2 to 3 daily, sort of basically puddle jumper or desert jumper flights on Delta and also Alaska. And now there's like one, and it's at like 5:45 p.m. and it's packed to the gills, and it's super duper expensive because there's still like the same demand for these routes, but there's like a third of the flights. But that's my one kind of beef right now with being where we are. But it's less to do with the Boise airport and more to do with the airlines.
Yeah, that would be my big complaint too, is I used to tell people that this was the perfect town to tour out of because the airport's super quick, was super fast, tons of flights, everything was real cheap, and that is just not true anymore. It's gotten kind of harder and harder. Anywhere you wish it went, like, that it doesn't go, that there are no flights to?
Oh, well, I'm kind of getting tired of flying backwards to go forwards,
Yeah.
which is to say flying to Seattle to fly east. Some of us reporters who have to travel a lot, and it sounds like you, of course, travel a lot too. You sort of, I'm a big proponent of picking an airline and sticking with it and staying loyal to it, because then they make it a lot easier for us to travel, in the sense that you get upgraded a little bit easier and they just treat you better, which is another comment on the perhaps sorry state of the airlines, that's the only way you get treated okay these days. But I wish there were more nonstop flights on airlines such as Delta. There just aren't really any easy ways to get to the East Coast, which is kind of direct, which is kind of puzzling to me, because Boise is one of the fastest growing cities in the nation and has a big booming economy, in part because of its proximity to California and other states. But you'd think that they would have more flights heading east, and that we wouldn't have to fly west to head east so much. But maybe that's a thing, because like West Coast, best coast, I think East Coast, least coast. I'm not the biggest fan of flying to the East Coast anyway.
Your opinion,
so
right? Okay.
yeah. There's another opinionated comment.
Well, as long as we're getting into opinions, let's talk other airports. Let's name names. How would you rank it? Like, let's say top to bottom favorite airports, and where is Boise in that?
Ooh, I just feel like I have least favorite airports. So
okay, do it.
Boise is my best least favorite airport. Like,
Okay.
I just was at DIA, and Denver is enormous and completely near absolutely nothing.
Yeah, middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and so Denver is a close second and toss up to me with Atlanta. Like, I'd rather fly out of LAX than most of these airports, if that tells you anything.
Atlanta is brutal. Denver I always enjoy because you're like, well, if there is an apocalypse, do we come here? It has a very post-apocalypse survival vibe. Like, we could live for a long time there.
And you're familiar with the conspiracy theories about the airport, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that there's a whole situation under there.
Yeah, but yeah, like the other day I was in gate C 3080 or whatever, and like it wasn't, the airport is constantly under construction, and then there was a, like, when I finally got to the end of this terminal where my gate was for the Boise gate, there was like some open space in the terminal and you could play cornhole. So my thinking is, if your airport is big enough to include a cornhole playing area, like, you're too big.
Yeah. That's a small city at that point.
Yeah.
Was there a pedal pub? You're a proper city once you have a pedal pub for everybody to be
Oh,
mad
right,
at, so.
right. Well, there wasn't like one of those, you mean like the things that's like everybody's singing Taylor Swift and like drinking beer and just riding.
Exactly.
That's a good idea. They should. That's probably coming next.
The airport pedal pub. I've just invented something. Mine goes, I love the Minneapolis airport. Love it. See, I have favorites. I love it. I think it's a lovely airport. You can walk around. You can get some food. You can nap. It's pretty gigantic. And then Portland has a very nice airport. There's a piano. There's often live music. Like, I love the Portland airport. And then Boise. Boise's it's in my top 3, but it's not my top 2.
Yeah, if we're just talking domestically, I'd put Seattle pretty high up there. I like Seattle.
Seattle's a nice airport. Yeah.
And PDX, you're right. You used to be able to, I haven't been there recently, but you used to be able to like shop for local craft beer and wine right in the airport.
And coffee
there. Yeah.
and candy. And they had all sorts of and great stuff there.
Why even go into the city? You can just spend the entire weekend in the airport.
Yeah, that's exactly. Well, I appreciate you coming on and telling us your shocking airport opinions and safe travels out there.
Thanks for the invite.
That's all for today here on CityCast Boise. If you enjoyed the show, subscribe to our Hey Boise newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more local stories from around the city. Bye.